Launched under Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2015, the Smart Cities mission is an ambitious multi-year effort to revamp 109 Indian cities to make them clean, modern and livable. 2 years later, we take stock of the mission in the 60 cities which have already made the cut. The government claims it's very happy with the progress.
We are fully satisfied. There's a lot of work happening on the ground. Projects are taking off. The SPVs have been set up. Funds are being mobilized. Like never before, this mission has created an opportunity for the city governments and private sector to work together. There are no lag areas. The first round of 20 cities, all of them are well on way to implementing projects, and the next batch they are getting the implementation model in place, the SPVs, and hiring the professionals to run their SPVs.
All right, let's put this satisfaction euphoria under the scanner and take stock in urban reality today, asking three big questions. Number one, how many of the shortlisted 60 cities have begun implementation and have their plans rolled out? What and how will citizens of these cities gain under the mission? Also an important question to ask. And finally, what are the unresolved challenges still facing this mission? Let's begin the debate. And joining me today are Shailesh Pathak, CEO at City Infra Capital, also NSN Murthy, ED and leader Smart Cities at PwC. Karuna Gopalan, President Foundation for Futuristic Cities, joins us from Hyderabad. And Manit Rastogi, founder Morphogenesis, for an architect's perspective. Karuna and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. All right, gentlemen, I think we set three questions. So let me start with you, Shailesh. Mr. Gauba, very euphoric, or I would say happy and satisfied with the implementation. Give us a stock. What's happening? Out of these 60 cities, what's the progress?
So 60 cities were chosen in 3 stages. In the first were the 20 lighthouse cities. In the second were the 13, and the third had, I think, 27 cities. I believe that out of the 60 chosen, 49 are doing very well, especially the first lot of 20. In the second round, out of 13, 10 are doing very well. And in the third lot of 27, 19. I do know that out of 60 cities, 59 have incorporated their special purpose vehicles, and we have the latest reports on how many projects have been taken up and how many have finished.
All right, so you're saying progress good, progress average, progress could have been better.
I'm saying that 3 years ago, nobody would have imagined that this would have happened in 60 cities in India. And remember, I'd call it the 3 C's. Number one is it's a competition. And we've never really had competition among Indian cities. Another example is the Swachh Sarvekshan. The second part is citizen engagement. Almost all 60 cities have won because their citizen engagement was amazing. Dehradun has not because it lacked that.
Right.
And the third was the city planned for itself. It was not driven by Delhi or the state capital.
NSN Murthy, what's your reaction to the government's claim that it's very happy with this progress and satisfied, and Shailesh Pathak here says 59 cities out of the first list of 60 already having an SPV in place itself is commendable. Would you agree, not agree, or take it with a little bit of salt?
Okay, so I want to actually twist around the entire point and say that is there a positive intent of the cities to do better than before? I think the answer to that is overwhelmingly yes.
All right.
They want to do better, they want to do good, they want to address the citizen services, citizen challenges, issues. Have they got the tools, financial measures and governance reforms? I think the answer is yes. Now, where do they stand today is also based on how many projects they have created, how much timeline is taking internally in the state. So there are a lot of other attributes. But from the intent standpoint, I think cities as a whole, all 60 of them, in fact, beyond 60, we are on the ground. Even the last 40, they've started doing their work much before they get they even win the challenge. So I'll say that 100 of them, all of them, 109 of them actually, all of them are actually putting their more than 100%. Commissioners are on the ground working pretty hard, and and they're working. So
So
I
you're
think it's a
saying
growth.
absolutely nothing missing in the intent. Of course, you have to fit a lot of pieces into the puzzle before really it translates into something on ground. Karuna Gopal, come in here. The statistics actually look very encouraging, and I was quite surprised to see them. 59 cities, like I mentioned, have formed the SPV. You have 54 cities which have issued tenders for appointing PMC or project management consultants. 30 have already issued tenders for core services, and you've got another 25 which have submitted issues for ABD or area-based development, and 27 which have issued for smart solutions. So really the numbers have they exceeded your expectation, or did you think that because the mission was so clearly laid out and the government was going to make sure that, you know, they feel the pressure, these cities feel the pressure after being accepted, really it's not much of a surprise?
Manisha, I'd like to say that I am happy, but I would also be happier if the government does, things a little differently and perhaps in a way that actually make long-term sense.
Okay.
See, I mean, we heard two speakers, Sailesh saying that he's amazed at the pace and, things are improving very fast. I couldn't agree more. I mean, we just didn't expect this kind of a, transition in the urban arena. But now I think a time has come for the government to do a mid-course evaluation. Try to understand what is being done right and what could perhaps be done better.
All right.
As I said, I'd be much happier to see things being done a little differently.
Okay.
See, for instance, today,
so Karuna, hold your thought. We will come back to the challenges or what you think are issues which have been unresolved. So you're saying it's great that the start has been made, but clearly the government has to come back, do a midterm evaluation of what's happening and what can be done differently. Manitra Stogi, I mean, I know architects have had a very, very mixed impression or opinion on this entire smart city program, but take a look at it. I mean, before this, urbanization was always done on or any mission was very, very piecemeal. This is the first time you've actually got 109 cities participating with citizens in it, and you actually have SPVs in 59. Are you a little less skeptical about the government's intention on actually reviving the cities of this country?
Thank you, Manisha. So first and foremost, skepticism with any form of productivity from Indian government is always a skeptical right of a citizen. That's how we've sort of grown up, I think, for the last 70 years. So let's get that one out of the way. But yes, so number one, I would agree. It is absolutely phenomenal, right, that the program is still moving on, and it's not just rhetoric. Okay, so yes, there is progress, and yes, it is actually quite incredible that that for once in more than half a century, the government believes that the wheels of the economy and human capital are going to be built around cities, and therefore let's do something about them. So there, as architects, we don't think we have a problem with that. I think where the problem really comes from, despite all these statistics, is that what do these statistics really point to? Is it is it a statistics that says that we have now converted all our street lighting into LED, or does it say that we have actually improved air quality in our cities, or we've improved walkability, or we've actually made the city more livable for how the other half, the person without a car, exists in the city? Okay, so I don't really think right now that the statistics point to an improvement in livability or sustainability or the key factors that actually make a city going. But having said that, the fact that anything has got done is remarkable. So I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful with the fact that cities aren't built overnight, and it's only been 2 years. I think that we are far too optimistic that on a 5-year window we will be able to see achievement. Cities take decades to improve. There is no doubt about that. But I would like to see a lot more emphasis rather than on the statistics of 700 projects,
All right. Karuna, leading from what Manit said, what are the citizen outcomes? I mean, my understanding is that 80% of the monies are still going into just the two basic core issues which citizens of this country face in urban areas, which is quality of water and roads and transportation, and 20% goes into technology. So evaluate that, and also what are your concerns other than the fact that citizen outcomes will take much longer to actually be viewed?
Okay, so as I started saying, people might think that I am really ambitious, or what I look or define smart cities as is perhaps not as simple as how the government defined today. See, when we thought of 100 smart cities, we had a fantastic opportunity. The greatest opportunity ever presented to any policymaker to revisit the assumptions made, to reconfigure the way Indian cities are led. So get down to the brass tacks, we could have recast the entire program differently. Then perhaps we wouldn't have been so happy now just counting the number of proposals that came from different cities, or how cities are competing, racing against time, and we would have been little unhappy, but we would in the long run have really achieved a lot of important things, like the livability that was said by one of the colleagues there.
Okay. So you're saying that the framework itself could have been very different. All right, I'm going to take a quick break right now. I'll come back to you, Karuna. We have to come back and actually examine it a little bit more. I mean, both in terms of does it really improve livability? Because this is, remember, an area-based development. So it's not as if Bhubaneswar gets chosen or NDMC or New Delhi, let's say, makes it into the list. But it's a very small area which will see improvement. What happens to the rest of the city is a big question. Also, what about the closure of financial gap? The funding which is coming from both the center and the state just meets a very, very tiny part of the requirement of even that small area-based development or the vision that is there. We'll be back. We're taking a stock of India's Smart City mission 2 years down the line. What's happening in those 60 cities which made the cut? Stay with us. Welcome back. On Urban Reality, we're taking stock of India's Smart City mission, outlined to make 109 urban centers of the country far more livable than they are currently. Okay, gentlemen, we have had a little bit of euphoria, a little bit of statistics which show that, look, the kickoff of this mission has been very decent. Let's not take away that, because frankly, Shailesh, I didn't even have an expectation that 59 out of 60 cities will have their SPV in place. But my big question to you is that the governance, the constitution of the board, transparency, and the financial gap, how are those things going to be taken care of? Are they still a cause of worry? And like Karuna said, also, let's say, require a very, very serious midterm review.
So Manisha, I'll quickly say three things. Number one, we in India love to say that India can't do this, right? We need foreign people to come and do this. Nonsense. When the NHAI started, Tavleen Singh went on record as saying that the Golden Quadrilateral is a pipe dream. It's not going to happen. So I see a lot of people who said this about the Smart Cities mission 3 years ago, now acknowledging that some things are happening on the ground. Number two, the action is not in Delhi. The action is in the states and the action is in the cities, which is why empowered SPVs with the right staffing are the most crucial part of the next 3 years that's going to